The airport was buzzing that morning, the kind of busy hum that makes everyone a little impatient. People rushed with coffee cups, kids clinging to parents, business travelers glued to phones. Among them stood Ethan Cole, a tall man in his late 30s with calm gray eyes, a sturdy build, and a quiet presence. His worn leather jacket carried faint military patches, faded symbols of a life he'd left behind but never truly escaped. Beside him was Lily, his 7-year-old daughter, clutching her little teddy bear, Captain Fluff. Her eyes gleamed with excitement. "Daddy, is this plane big like the one you flew in the army?" she asked, eyes wide. Ethan smiled. "Bigger, sweetheart, but this time, we're just passengers." Their flight from Dallas to New York was full. Ethan had booked 2 economy seats, but at the last minute, a kind airline staffer had offered a possible upgrade to first class because of his veteran status. It wasn't guaranteed, but it was a nice gesture. He didn't care much for luxury, but Lily was thrilled about the idea of fancy seats. As boarding began, Ethan approached the counter with his boarding pass. "Good morning," he said politely. "I was told there might be an upgrade available." The young attendant smiled and typed on her computer. "Ah, yes, Mr. Cole, let me check. Oh, looks like there's 1 seat left in first class." "One?" Ethan asked, glancing at his daughter. "Yes, sir, just one." He hesitated. "Then no, thank you. We'll stay together." But before he could finish, a tall man in a tailored suit behind him interrupted sharply. "Excuse me, if there's one left, I'll take it. I'm platinum status." The attendant looked flustered. "Sir, The man waved his hand dismissively. "Please, some of us actually pay full fare." Ethan turned slightly, meeting the man's cold stare. He recognized the type instantly, entitled, impatient, and utterly convinced of his own importance. "It's fine," Ethan said quietly to the attendant. "Give it to him." The man smirked. "Smart choice, soldier." He glanced at Ethan's jacket. "Didn't know they let coach travelers wear military patches now." Ethan said nothing. Lily frowned. "Daddy, that man was mean." He bent down, kissed her forehead. "It's okay, sweetheart, we know who we are." They boarded. First class shimmered with comfort, wide seats, champagne glasses, soft lights. As Ethan and Lily passed, the man in the suit, Mr. Harrison, was already sipping wine, scrolling through his phone. In economy, Ethan folded himself into the cramped seat, Lily next to him by the window. She leaned close. "I don't like that man." Ethan chuckled softly. "We don't have to. We just have to fly." The engines roared to life, and soon, the plane lifted into the clouds. Lily pressed her nose to the glass, whispering, "We're flying, Daddy." He smiled. Her joy was the reason he kept going. After her mother had passed from cancer 2 years ago, Ethan had left active duty to raise her alone. Every smile of hers felt like a medal he actually earned. About 40 minutes into the flight, things were calm. The attendants moved down the aisle with drinks. Ethan closed his eyes briefly, years of habit, sensing everything around him even in rest. A sudden turbulence jolt shook the cabin. A few passengers gasped. "Just some bumps, folks," the pilot's calm voice echoed. But Ethan noticed something. The sound of the engines didn't stabilize right after the shake. It lingered, a faint irregular rhythm. His instincts stirred. Then came a faint burning smell. Ethan's eyes opened instantly. He unbuckled, scanning the ceiling vents. "Daddy," Lily whispered. "It's okay, sweetheart. Stay buckled." He caught sight of a thin stream of smoke curling from the galley near the front. The flight attendants noticed it seconds later. Panic flickered across their faces before they masked it with professional calm. One hurried toward the cockpit. The other grabbed a fire extinguisher. Ethan was already on his feet. "Sir, please sit down," the attendant urged. Ethan's voice was low, controlled. "I'm a trained military firefighter and air operations specialist." "What's the situation?" She blinked, unsure whether to believe him. Then another burst of smoke erupted from a panel behind the galley wall. People screamed. Alarms started to beep. Ethan moved instantly, pulling off his jacket and covering his mouth. He crawled under the smoke line, yanking open a vent cover. Inside, flames flickered along a bundle of electrical cables. "Short circuit in the power relay," he muttered. "If it hits the fuel line." He didn't finish. He shouted to the attendants, "Shut down power to this section." Now, they hesitated, but something in his voice, steady, commanding, made them obey. Ethan used the fire extinguisher in short, sharp bursts, controlling rather than smothering. The smoke thinned slightly, but then another warning light blinked above the door, pressure loss in the forward section. Passengers were screaming now. The air masks hadn't dropped yet. Someone yelled, "We're on fire. We're going down." Lily's terrified voice pierced through the chaos. "Daddy." Ethan turned, eyes locking on her. "Close your eyes, baby. Don't move." He pulled himself up, striding toward the cockpit. The attendants tried to block him. "Sir, you can't." "Then tell the captain he's about to lose electrical control in his hydraulic system in 2 minutes. Now." That got their attention. One ran inside. Seconds later, the cockpit door opened, and the pilot, a woman with sweat on her brow, looked out. "You're military. U.S. Army, Aviation Division. 15 years. You're losing redundancy on the left panel. The smoke's from your relay bus." She nodded sharply. "We can't get power to the left landing gear controls. Backup's dead." "Then we're going to have to do this the old-fashioned way," Ethan said. 12 minutes. That's all the pilot told him they had before full system failure. He went back to Lily. She looked pale, clutching her teddy bear. "Daddy, are we going to be okay?" He knelt and smiled softly. "Hey, look at me. I promised Mommy I'd always keep you safe, right?" She nodded tearfully. "Then trust me." He squeezed her hand, then turned to the chaos of the cabin. "Everyone listen up," he shouted, voice cutting through the noise like steel. "My name is Sergeant Ethan Cole, U.S. Army veteran. I need everyone calm and seated. We're not dying today, understood?" Something in his tone, discipline, courage, raw authority, snapped people into focus. Even the man in first class, Harrison, stared with wide eyes. Ethan moved through the aisle, helping attendants seal off the damaged section. He directed passengers to redistribute weight for emergency control. "We're going to balance the load to stabilize the plane. 2 rows move back." The captain's voice came over the intercom. "We've lost left side hydraulics, but we're attempting a manual override. Prepare for an emergency descent." Ethan grabbed a small oxygen mask for Lily, securing it tight. "Keep breathing through this, baby. I'll be right here." Smoke filled the cabin again. Someone fainted. Another screamed, but Ethan's calm never wavered. He reached the cockpit again and assisted the first officer with manual gear crank procedures. His knowledge of old mechanical systems from Army transport aircraft came flooding back. "Pressure's holding," the pilot said. "But we'll have to land hard." Ethan looked out the windshield. Through the haze, a small airport runway was coming into view. "Tell the tower to clear everything. I'll handle cabin control. Back in the cabin, Harrison, the same man who'd mocked Ethan, was pale and shaking. His champagne glass lay shattered on the floor. Ethan crouched beside him. "You okay?" The man stammered. I'm sorry about before. I didn't know." Ethan put a firm hand on his shoulder. "Apologies later. Right now, help the woman next to you tighten her belt." The man nodded quickly, obeying. The plane began to descend sharply, trembling under the pressure. Luggage fell, masks swung wildly. Lily cried out. Ethan ran back, bracing himself between rows of seats, steadying others. He shouted commands with precision. Heads down. Arms crossed. Hold tight. The runway approached. Fast. The wheels hit the tarmac with a thunderous jolt. Sparks flew from the left side. The landing gear collapsed partially, skidding. The entire plane shook violently. "Stay down," Ethan roared. Metal screeched. Fire burst from one engine. The pilot fought the controls, guiding the aircraft toward a grassy strip. Finally, after what felt like forever, the plane shuddered to a stop. Silence. Then sobs, gasps, coughs. Smoke still seeped from the left engine. Ethan was already moving, unbuckling people, shouting to the attendants, "Emergency exits, now." He climbed over seats, carrying a semi-conscious woman on his shoulder. He pushed open a door with the attendants, deploying the slide. One by one, passengers slid down, coughing but alive. Lily waited at the bottom, calling, "Daddy, I'm coming." baby," he yelled, dragging the last man through. Seconds later, the fire reached the cabin wall. A small explosion burst behind him. Ethan dove down the slide, rolling as flames erupted from the plane's rear. He wrapped his arms around Lily, shielding her. They lay on the grass, breathing hard, sirens wailing in the distance. He'd done it. He'd saved them all. An hour later, the runway was swarming with firefighters, paramedics, and news crews. The passengers huddled together, wrapped in blankets, dazed but safe. A reporter approached. "Sir, are you the man who helped control the fire?" Ethan shook his head modestly. "Just did what needed doing." The pilot stepped forward. Captain Sarah Bennett, a woman of strong poise but tearful eyes. "No, sir," she said firmly. "You didn't just do what needed doing. You saved 132 lives today." Applause rippled through the crowd. Even the arrogant businessman, Harrison, came forward. His expensive suit was ash-stained and torn, his voice shaking. "Mr. Cole, I owe you my life. And my apology." Ethan just nodded. "Let's just say we both learned something today." Lily tugged at his sleeve. "Daddy, can we still go to New York?" He chuckled softly. "Maybe tomorrow, sweetheart. But tonight, we're going to get some ice cream." Later that evening, at the temporary shelter, Lily fell asleep on Ethan's lap, still holding Captain Fluff. Her small breaths were steady, peaceful. He brushed a strand of hair from her forehead, staring out at the flashing lights of emergency vehicles fading into the distance. He thought about how life worked, how one moment, people judged you for what you wore or where you sat, and 12 minutes later, those same people might depend on you for their lives. He wasn't angry, just grateful. Grateful that his training, his instincts, and his will to protect still had purpose. The airline later issued a public statement, calling him a hero. The headlines spread across the country. "Veteran denied first-class seat saves entire plane after mid-air fire." People online shared photos, his calm face emerging from smoke with Lily in his arms. Messages poured in, thank yous, donations, praise. Ethan didn't care for fame. He cared that his daughter was alive, smiling again, and that maybe the world remembered for a moment what quiet heroes looked like. A week later, at a press conference, the airline CEO invited Ethan to speak. He stood at the podium, uncomfortable in front of cameras, wearing the same worn jacket. "I'm not a hero," he began. "I just did what I was trained to do. But I hope this reminds everyone, never judge someone by the seat they're sitting in. Because the person in the back of the plane might just be the one who saves it." He glanced down at Lily, who sat in the front row, beaming proudly. Applause thundered. Cheers filled eyes. And in that moment, Ethan felt something deeper than recognition, peace. As he and Lily walked out into the sunlight afterward, Harrison approached again. This time, no suit, no arrogance, just humility. "I've arranged something for you," he said quietly. "A scholarship fund, for Lily. It's the least I can do." Ethan's eyes softened. "That's kind of you. Thank you." Harrison nodded, looking almost ashamed. "When I saw you stand up there in the fire, I realized money doesn't buy class." "You do." Ethan smiled faintly. "We all learn, one way or another." They shook hands, a silent understanding between two very different men whose lives had crossed at 30,000 feet. That night, back at their small motel room, Lily whispered sleepily. "Daddy, when I grow up, I want to be brave like you." He smiled, tucking her in. "You already are, sweetheart. You didn't cry, you held on, and you believed." She grinned. "That's what mommy would have done too." Ethan's throat tightened. "Yeah, that's what she would have done." Outside, planes roared faintly in the distance, just another night in the skies. But somewhere in those clouds, an invisible mark remained, a silent tribute to one man's courage, and to a little girl's faith in her father. As he turned off the light, Ethan whispered softly, "Thank you, God, for giving me one more chance to bring everyone home." If you like the video, don't forget to like and subscribe before you go.